Hello everyone, welcome to the Rundown. Thanks to AGL for all your energy needs. Go to agl.com.au. The West Coast Eagles taking on North Melbourne Saturday afternoon at Optus Stadium. And taking on the Rundown today, Ryan Daniels from 7 News, or is it? And Andrew Embley, of course, West Coast Eagles Premiership player and Norm Smith medalist. I'm going to get it out there first. Rumour file about your future. Confirm or deny to the fans.
My mum texted me on Monday. She said, "Are you going to the ABC?" I said, "What are you talking about?" And then my good mate Clint Thomas at the ABC said, "When are you starting?" I said, someone needs to clear this up for me. I can confirm I'm staying at Channel 7. I'm very happy.
Yeah, there's a guy called Basil who might be able to clear it up as well. Key to victory for the Demons, of course, last week. Alice Springs, I was there. They just went in, got the job done. They were challenged. What did you think of what you saw?
Well, I think the first thing we have to talk about is Jackson Nelson, which you never thought we would say during the season. He was so important because during that game, Melbourne were really hanging tough. They were actually better than West Coast in a lot of areas for a lot of the day. Their kicking let them down. In the last quarter, Jackson Nelson was sent to Clayton Oliver, who had been tearing West Coast's midfield apart. Every now and then you see a guy like Nelson who's sort of in and out of the side, plays a lot of waffle footy. We're not quite sure if he's going to make it. What's he going to be? This was the game for Jackson Nelson where we all thought, oh, that's what Jackson Nelson is. He went to Clayton Oliver, a big-bodied inside mid, shut him down, and the Eagles won the game. And I think that was a big part of why they got across the line. Huge day for Jackson Nelson.
I thought Hickey's job on Max Gawn was really important. Max Gawn won a lot of the hit-outs, but Hickey just to be able to nullify the influence that Gawn had around the ground. And I thought the Eagles' clearance work, especially forward of centre, their ability to be able to win that football, go inside forward 50 and hit the scoreboard is outstanding. They took their opportunities early. Melbourne didn't take their chances. And when you have got a psychological advantage over the Melbourne Football Club, to be able to start like that, and to Melbourne's credit, they got themselves back in the contest, but you just burned too much petrol trying to get back, and West Coast went to another gear, which they've got in that last quarter, and I thought they finished off really well.
Yeah, incredibly courageous by the West Coast Eagles. I noticed Adam Simpson went down to the group at three-quarter time and did spend a lot of time at the midfield about restructuring that midfield. Yo got one of the early centre clearances, and all of a sudden you felt the game started to shift again. Marston going to half-back I thought was significant as well, and of course Frankie Watson, which gets us to Frankie Watson, came in for his debut. Shannon Hearn a late withdrawal because of calf injury, and of course he's not going to play against North Melbourne. This kid played with incredible confidence, and his skill level was second rate.
The poise.
First rate.
Poise. First rate.
First rate. Second to none.
Well, if first rate is all Australian, then he was second rate. We'll call it that. He's not third or fourth rate anymore. But the poise of Francis Watson was the big thing, I think. Because what we've heard and seen from him in the waffle is he's a little bit erratic. He's unpredictable. Sometimes he does things that maybe the coaching staff cringe at, but then he'll do something that they love. When he went up to the next level, what we saw was he is ready. He's calm, and when it comes to those pressure-packed situations, he seems to have just an extra second. And we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. Frankie Watson's played one game, but what you see in that short little stint down back was calm and collected, and that's what you want.
What he did, Emma, mate, just before I get your response to Frankie Watson's debut, is he did the bread and butter things, which is what Cameron's doing, which is what Ryan does, Rioli does. If they're not in the position to mark the ball or win the ball, as long as they halve the ball. And that was his first thought, and that's what I liked about his game.
It gives West Coast something different in that back line. He's got flair, but he's also got enormous amount of courage. He knows when to come off his man and spoil. He knows when to actually be really defensive. He's a really good prospect for the West Coast Eagles. Going to be around for a long time. I think Adam Simpson and the West Coast Eagles coaching staff need to take a lot of credit for this. West Coast are in contention to win a premiership, but yet they continue to blood young guys. Petruccelli, Oscar Allen, now Francis Watson. And I know Simpson gets a lot of credit, but guys like Gavin Bell, guys like Luke Webster, Mark Nikoski, Adrian Hickmott, to be able to develop these young kids so that when they are called upon, they come into the system, they're not just playing their role, they're having an impact as well. It's really encouraging signs for the West Coast Eagles.
Well, interesting enough, I was on the plane up to Alice first thing on game day, and I was on the plane. Mark Nikoski was there, and he said, I'm just going up to watch the game as a sort of a back defender junior coach. And I went, oh yeah, cool, no worries. And then there was a young lady sitting on opposite me on the plane, up back. Plane wasn't full. Happened to be Frankie Watson's sister. So I had no idea what was going on. Well done to West Coast Eagles. They concealed it beautifully. He's a rookie. Let's talk about rookies then. Let's lead out from Frankie Watson to the rookies over the journey. The West Coast Eagles' ability to rookie draft and then go on to have great careers. Let's talk about that journey.
Oh, they've been blessed, haven't they? The West Coast Eagles' ability to be able to find players, miss out on the draft, get rookied, and then turn out to be absolute stars of the competition. Now, Dean Cox is the one that comes to mind, obviously a great teammate of mine and friend, and he really revolutionised the ruck role, didn't he? And when you have a look at Gawn and you have a look at Grundy at the moment, they play the similar role that Dean did. He wasn't just a ruckman, he was a midfielder as well. He used to find plenty off the football. Throw in McGovern, throw in Prittis. Chad Fletcher, I mean, he was just racking the footy there at one stage. Runner-up to Chris Judd in the best and fairest in 2004, the year that Chris Judd won the Brownlow medal. How good was that? Quinton Lynch as well. So there's been so many.
Okay, you've taken a huge bite out of the sandwich. Give us something else.
Okay, Dean Cox, the best ever.
1, 2?
2, Jeremy McGovern, and 3, Matt Prittis.
I can't disagree with that order. That's the exact order that I would have had as well. With honourable mentions to Quinton Lynch, one of the best goal kickers in club history, and also to Chad Fletcher, a good mate of yours. So both of those guys are excellent. And an honourable mention to Brett Jones, who never gets mentioned, but plucked him out of nowhere. And Brett Jones was actually sort of the perfect rookie, wasn't he? I mean, he was a guy that probably wasn't ready, might never have made AFL, but they took him, they moulded him into one very specific role, and he turned into a fantastic halfback flanker / lockdown defender and ended up being a premiership player. So what we're seeing now is it's sort of trending towards it's harder to pluck those rookies out of nowhere because everyone's getting a bit more clever. You're not going to find a Dean Cox necessarily anymore, but what you might find is a few Brett Jones, you might find a Frankie Watson. So that's what the rookie draft is still kind of important. And we should say Frankie was a zone selection because of the academies.
Same 3 for me, the obvious 3, of course. I've got them around the wrong way, the other way. I've got Prittis second behind Cox. I think a Brownlow medal pushes him up in that position. North Melbourne come to town on the back-to-back losses. So, look, their season is, well, it's on the line. One would think they would have to be really good to make it. They don't have Scott Thompson. What a terrible injury that is, and that would be rather painful. My eyes are watering. What do we make of North Melbourne, and what do they bring? And I think they're very cautious, West Coast Eagles, about being ambushed by the physicality of this team.
Well, their season started like Scott Thompson's injury, a bit of a ruptured testicle of a season for North Melbourne. But
we can laugh.
But geez. I would still give their season a tick because of what's happened once Reece Shaw has taken over. They've seen some development from some of their kids. Taron Thomas looks really, really good. Cam Zurhaar looks fantastic, a West Aussie kid, East Fremantle product. So I would still say that there's some positives. Once they get to the end of this season, and they're not going to make the finals, West Coast is going to win this game, it's going to end their run. But they can tick and say, look, we've done this, we've done that. We might have found a new coach in Reece Shaw. So I think North Melbourne are not to be sneezed at for their year. I think if West Coast are going to be a certainty to win this game, that they need to shut down Jack Zeeble. And I think the man to do that is the guy that we spoke about at the start, our man Jackson Nelson. I think he's the perfect matchup for a Jack Zeeble type, big body.
Reece Shaw's been outstanding, and full credit to the North Melbourne Football Club. They've turned their season around. They've been brave. They've been so strong around the contest. Their ability to be able to put on pressure, to make it really difficult for the opposition's been outstanding. I think, though, this could be a game that gets quite ugly. I think West Coast could absolutely put North Melbourne to the sword. And the reason why I say that is that North Melbourne have been brave, but the way they're playing at the moment, you remember they are a young side, and I don't think it's sustainable. They've gone up to Brisbane last week. They were so close.
Well,
and I just reckon
they were robbed.
They were robbed, but I just reckon emotionally and physically that takes its toll. They go back to Melbourne. Now they hop on a flight to come to Perth, arguably the toughest road trip that they could do. If they're off a little bit, the West Coast Eagles, if they smell weakness, they could absolutely put North Melbourne to the sword.
They are young. You're
what
right,
happened to
but they're
Collingwood?
tough.
What happened to Collingwood a couple of weeks ago? They came over here, emotion, they were absolutely outstanding. Week after, they go to GWS, get absolutely smashed. Yeah, but so I think this could happen to North Melbourne. It's just my opinion. I get paid to give it.
Absolutely. They're not going to get belted. They're too strong around the contest.
West Coast by the line easily.
And they're mentally tough. You watch these young blokes like Zurhaar, and Zeeble, of course, is going to break through. Cunnington is as hard as they get. They don't get pumped anymore. They just won't get pumped. There's no way West Coast can sleep on this game.
If this game gets on the outside, I think that's where North Melbourne could struggle a little bit.
Yes,
bigger ground,
agreed.
Optus, they're really good around the contest. We know that Cunnington, Zeeble and Higgins, outstanding. But if this game gets on the outside, West Coast could really, really put them away.
Yep.
Not too sure what I'm more shocked about, whether you think that West Coast will pump North Melbourne or you get paid for doing this gig. Alrighty, let's turn our attention then to the Waffle. And of course, the Waffle Eagles are back in action. They take on the all-conquering Subiaco. Can they win? And I'll give you my opinion first. I don't think they can win simply not because of Subiaco, but I saw West Coast against West Perth 2 weeks ago. at Mineral Resources Park. Schofield, Waterman, Petrocelli and Watson were the 4 best players by the length of the straight, and none of them will be there.
That was what I was going to say. I mean, if there weren't so many injuries at the top level for West Coast and they had a few more of these guys back in the Waffle side, I think you'd say this is possible. But Subiaco have earned the right to just be feared and to be respected and to say, well, no, you assume that they're going to win this game. If West Coast were full strength at Waffle level, maybe, but I just can't see it. It would be fantastic for the Waffle in general, I think, to see Subi get rolled. It would always be. Every single week it would be great to see them get rolled, but I don't think it will happen.
Had a good month, haven't they, the West Coast Eagles, playing some really good football. Luke Webster's got them playing a really exciting brand, but as you said, you lose a couple of key players like that, you lose a little bit of your structure, and Subiaco, as we all know, have been the best team in the Waffle for the past 10 years. Their ability just to be able to find a way to continue to win, slow the opposition ball movement down. They are very difficult to score against Subiaco, and I think West Coast may just find it a little bit difficult this weekend.
Nathan Vardy will be there though, so that is a biggie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming off
Probably has to play forward too for mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the role if he comes into the West Coast Eagles team towards the end of the year, needs to stand inside that forward line, take a couple of big grabs, kick a couple of goals. I think that'll be really good for his confidence and be asking a few questions off the match committee as well going forward.
Yeah, they've got Bailey Williams and of course Keegan Brooksby to do the bulk of the rucking. And if you are going to that game, it is on Saturday morning. And I will say this, look out for a boy by the name of Nick Reed. Steve Thumper Bandy believes this kid could win the Sandover medal. Okay, who wins and why? Just really quickly, West Coast margin against North Melbourne Saturday afternoon.
Yep, Nelson goes to Zeeble, shuts him down. West Coast win by 6 goals.
North Melbourne been really, really brave, but I just feel like they're just starting to tire a little bit. And on the back of that, I think West Coast win by about 6 goals.
Yeah, West Coast Eagles survive the arm wrestle early and get the job done easily for mine. But North Melbourne will certainly lay down the challenge early. Thanks to AGL, you've been watching The Rundown. Thanks to Ryan Daniels. Thanks to Andrew Embley. Until next week, this has been The Rundown. Thanks to AGL, agl.com.au.